coming up in years in the future, we would need those dollars. So it's not like you have a cash balance on your checking account. And so you have so much coming in each year you can only spend. What we did was to project out what we needed. What has happened here this last year is proof in the pudding that what we needed to do was to have some reserves available. There are 3 properties that the park ought to have right now. They have no money because they took the money off the ledger. Because they thought, well, we don't need it because we have all this surplus. You have a surplus because you knew you were going to need it in the future. So that needs to be redone appropriately.
John well said, and I think this is just an example of, I think this was part of the defunding plan for the parks, you know what I mean? So that's about all I can say.
Thanks for helping us out with that.
My question is, tell me about the recent park survey. Are there any criticisms about the way it was run?
Where shall we start? Yes, there are. The survey was just done so unprofessionally, both in terms of how it was distributed, how the information was collected, the questions that were asked. I know I had difficulty answering some of the questions, and none of the answers that were given to these choices were right for me, and they wouldn't let me skip the question and go on to the next one. So I had a terrible time with the questions on the survey. And there was just no control over who was responding to the survey. Paper copies were left in libraries, and somebody actually, just to prove the point, took a number of paper copies and filled them out. Or, I'm not sure anybody taken the survey a number of times on electronic devices. I think if you had multiple electronic devices, you could take it multiple times. And there really was, this was not a way to find out what the public really wants.
Yeah, that's, and there were other oddities too. We have an email from that John Oros sent around to, I believe it was the American Turkey Federation, urging them to participate. And this is people that aren't even in the county. An obvious example of trying to influence the results of the survey. There were some libraries didn't have any copies of the survey at all. Others, as Shelby mentioned, had a stack of them that people could just help yourself at. You could sit at, I understand you could use the computer to take the survey, and there's nothing to prevent someone from taking it multiple times and thus influencing it. The way that, the last survey was done when Tom Burton was director, and he let Triad, a company, handle it. They were a professional company, they handled it professionally. That's what should have been done. Or Dave Dietrich from the Planning Commission, he has handled surveys for townships, and he's done it in a very professional way, in a way that would give an indication of how the public actually feels about the survey.
Is there anyone else? Also, I would like to tell you, I got a note from the fellow in charge of the coffee pot. He said there is now regular coffee to go along with the decaf in case you need a shot of caffeine. Okay, yes?
I really just want to go over a little bit on the levy. The levy you were talking about is the renewal and replacement is the one that they went to that makes the money more. The renewal keeps it at the level it was, and the replacement replaces it to today's money. That's what I just wanted to clear up.
Talking about the levies, boy, that will really make people's eyes glaze over. But I could say one thing: school districts, townships, and and let me see what else, and the town and the county get a certain amount of their levies as inside millage. That means as property taxes go up in value, a certain amount of the taxes will go up also. But that's not the case for park districts. They get no inside millage. So as property values go up, their taxes stay the same. The only way they can get more money is to actually have a replacement levy on the ballot or a new levy.
Do other counties in the state of Ohio have judges that control their park commissioners like we do? Is this all over Ohio, or is it only Geauga County?
Unfortunately, it's happening in other counties too. In Cuyahoga County, they've always tended to have more kinds of commercial activities. They've just put in a zip line in one of the parks. It's run by an outside concessionaire who's making the money on it, I think. It is being run in the metro parks in Cuyahoga County. I also know it's in the Youngstown area, I believe. There have been some issues. Yeah, Mill Creek. Do you know anything much about what's going on there, John? I know there have been problems with the judge hiring and firing on a bunch of commissioners. In fact, they went to, I know they went to a 5-member board of commissioners, which is an option that the state offers, and I think that was done in order for the probate judge to be able to put more of his people on the board.
I could say something. I've looked into a little bit about how people to run the parks are picked around the country. And it seems in some areas they're direct election of park commissioners. And from what I've heard, that tends to be even worse situation, because it then becomes political. And if you want to see what political becomes, all you have to do is look at this. This is, I think many of you probably got this in the mail last fall. This came out, I got it in the mail on election day. And one of the park commissioners was running for county commissioners, and there's 3 pictures of him and quotes of him. This is what our tax dollars, he might have made a pretty good park county commissioner, but it's outrageous that this was done in such an open way using our tax dollars. I can't believe it was just coincidence.
Jim Wolkin from Burton Village. We came here in 1970 and our families enjoyed the parks and never heard the word judge until this year. So my question is about the judge too. And it's this: is there any rationales in the state for having a probate judge appoint the park commissioners? And also, are there any state guidelines for the judge to follow in choosing the commissioners and then allowing them to work without being under the pressure and command of that judge?
There are no state guidelines. And I think we have to go back in the legislative history, back to 1919 when the statute came into being. And in 1919, it was not at all unusual for statutes to give either the probate judge or the common pleas judge, and it's kind of 50-50 which way it went, the power over various local governmental units. And so it was a way of thinking that they had back in 1919. It was a way of doing things that was commonly done, and it wasn't just the park districts. And it's just been that way. And it's been that way ever since then, and nobody has really felt the need, I guess, to think about other ways in which commissioners might be appointed or judges might be kept under control. And we're the first here to have to think about it.
One of the problems we have is that so often, people don't really understand when you talk about a county park system like Geauga Parks, the average person, if you would ask them, think it's just part of county government. They don't realize it is a separate political entity like a school district. So that's part of the problem. But I think Shelley covered it pretty well in that. Excellent.
I just want to respond to Jim's question about the judge. The reason I think that we didn't hear concerns or comments about judges in relationships to the parks before is that for a number of years, the parks were, the probate judge was Chip Henry, who was a conservationist, who appointed park commissioners who were conservationists or who were interested in preserving, protecting, and conserving land. And he helped to make the Geauga Parks the great parks that they are today. So I don't think that it's always a matter of having it be under the operation of a judge, but it has to do with having the person who really supports parkland and supports putting the right people in the right positions and letting the professionals who work in the park district do their job.
And I would just add that as voters, it's up to us to pay attention to who we're putting in power. Who are we voting for our judges? And so often we either don't pay enough attention to the judges on the ballot, or in this case, we didn't have anybody running against Judge Grindell. We need to find good candidates. And now we all know, for probate judge, we need to find good candidates who are interested in conservation and who support the parks. And the next time that position comes open, we need to make sure there's somebody good running, and we need to get people out to vote for that person.
Real quick, just wanted to say two things. First of all, the ORC says the judge appoints commissioners. It does not say the judge runs the day-to-day operations. The judge does not control the commissioners. The judge doesn't do any of that. ORC, read it. It says he appoints the commissioners. Why is he appointing commissioners if he's going to control the day-to-day opportunities? If he's going to control the commissioners, he's going to make decisions which the commissioners should be doing by themselves. Think about that. He is way out of line. That's my personal opinion, though. The other thing I want to say is the survey. I live in South Russell. South Russell didn't get the survey. Why? We use 44022, Chagrin Falls zip code, because we don't have our own post office. So you already start limiting people when you say, we're only going to give it to Geauga residents, but you allow people to go offline. If I did the online survey and I put my zip code 44022, which is required, what happens? They will discount my online survey. Just want to point that out. Think about that the next time you hear the judge say, that survey shows what the community wants. Thank you.
Catherine, you couldn't say it better, and many of us were also in a similar position in Parkland, where I live. We have 4 different zip codes that are covered by some of the folks I have a West Farmington post office. Because the Parkland post office is small, we have some folks that have a Garrettsville zip code, some that have a Burton zip code. Any of those folks that fill out their survey with their zip code, it will probably be discounted, or they'll be considered, it will be given less effect because it will be considered an out of county. But we don't know because they don't tell us.
Well, it's past 1:45, so I think everyone that wanted to has had their say, right? Oh, you want to say something? The timer wants to say something. You are allowed. Yeah. It'll be great. We're from the League of Women Voters, and you know what? We need more members or else you won't have this, so join. The membership thing is back there. That's my commercial. What she means is we want to retire, we're getting old. I would like to thank you all for coming, and I would like to thank you two for being our panelists. And we have a little present for you here. Real, genuine maple syrup. One for each of you, and that's what the Park District missed. Free maple syrup. If they had had two panelists here, they could you each want that? If you want to carry it home in that. We usually do that for our panelists, and you're entitled to. So thank you both for participating, and thank you all for coming. And the regular coffee is hot and ready, is it? Mike made sure. And we have about 10 minutes if you want to have a quick cup of either one or whatever else. Did you get tea bags too? Oh, we're all ready now. So you can go back and chat and have a drink for the road. How's that? Thank you very much.